Hey everyone, this is Frugal Panda here. I just want to share some thoughts on those still thinking of moving to Denver. You know, you think about moving here, kind of curious about the city. And when I mention Denver, what I mean is Denver and its surrounding areas. That could be Aurora, Westminster, anywhere, Douglas County, even Castle Rock area, Louisville. There's a variety of places all around here, Thornton, Arvada, Littleton. Before moving here, I would definitely do a lot of research. And it depends what you're moving here. If you're moving here for a better job, you're in the military and you're PCSing here, it's good to do some research on the area. If you have kids or you don't have kids, I'll keep this one to single people. Let's say single and couples without kids. Denver, if you want to live in downtown Denver, it's very expensive. And I'm talking like $2,000 up to $3,000 for an apartment. And you're not talking new apartments. A lot of them are just crappy apartments. The type of apartments where you'd see the plumbing and all that in there. The more you spend, the nicer the area. But finding an apartment or let's say an apartment or a condo or a townhome in those areas is going to be a lot more difficult, and there's going to be a lot of competition for it. Now, one of the benefits of living downtown, if you are a single person or just a couple without kids, is the nightlife, things to do. Of course, we have COVID going on right now, but there's still tons of things to do and like go out and see. And downtown is pretty cool. Crime, it depends where you live. And even depending on where you live, you're still going to walk into issues such as homelessness, drug use. Marijuana is legal here, which is not really a big deal. But the problem with downtown areas is a lot of people are attracted to there because all the dispensaries, homeless people, people with mental illness, and just average people. So a lot of times you'll end up smelling marijuana depending on where you're going. If that's a thing to you that irritates you. I never really had a big deal with it. I had an issue with it. Only time I ever really have an issue with it is when I'd have my child with me who's young, 11 years old, even when he was younger, is you're walking in the park and you walk through a cloud of weed smoke. You got a kid with you, say it's 5 years old. That's, it might get on your nerves like, really, dude, you couldn't have moved off the sidewalk, But if you're a couple, it's just something to take into account. It may be a big deal to you. It may not be. You may be moving here because marijuana is illegal here in Washington and honestly a lot of states now. It's not really a big deal here. What else? We have a high quality of life, but to be part of that high standard of living that we have here, you need to have either a good job or just work hard. Denver's the type of place that you don't just have to have one job. I've always had two jobs, and I never really needed two jobs. But I've also never been laid off or been unemployed because I'd usually have a backup job here. And what I mean by that is I'd have a job that was a full-time job or almost full-time with benefits. And then I have a backup job because I work in healthcare, by the way. It could be the agency, it could be anything. So if something happened to one, I have another one to fall back on. And it's a lot easier to get a job when you have a job, as the old saying goes. Getting back to real estate and apartments, they're very expensive. If you want to get a house as a single person or a couple, you're going to spend some money. Outdoors is still great in Colorado. Denver, we have trails. You have, urban trails within the cities, very large parks, but everybody and their mother is using it right now to see the cool trails. Now let's rewind it. Not to see the cool trails, but to see trails where not everybody is there. You're going to have to drive further away from Denver. Now, say you're coming here and you necessarily are not in a job that is in high demand, or you're just doing a regular job, you were working in a factory somewhere in Indiana. I'll use Indiana. I'm from Indiana. You may have difficulty finding a job at first, but you may not. And that's the thing about it. Right now, they're having a hard time hiring people in places like Amazon, distribution centers. There's Coors. Coors is up in Golden, Colorado, which is not too far from here. So there's places, and they pay fairly well, by the way. I think you get free beer too. Actually, I know you do. UPS, things like that. So you can get jobs. Now, the thing, it's not an issue of getting jobs out here. The problem is finding places to live that's not going to eat your check away. If you have no problem, say, driving into work, and depending on what your schedule is, some people don't work 5 days a week. Some people do 4 10s or they do 3 12s, depending on what job they're in. I'm in healthcare. A lot of times I do either 10s or 12s. I work in healthcare and I also work in education. I have, like I said, I always have 2 jobs. Um, so I can drive, but I live in Aurora. I own my house out there. I've owned 4 houses out here. Um, so I drive into work to my one job, which is an hour away with traffic. That's another story for another day, but traffic is horrendous out here. Now, you can live out in Elizabeth. Basically, any of the smaller communities, you look on a map outside of Denver, you'll see these smaller communities within usually 30 miles. Now, you'll probably find better living out there, bang for your buck out in those areas. You're going to drive in, but if you're able to, deal with the drive, you're fine. It snows and everything in the winter here, but they do a pretty good job at keeping the roads clear. This is a major metropolitan area. It's been getting, snow probably for thousands of years. So they're pretty good at clearing it out. Rear-wheel drive cars, I wouldn't recommend unless you have snow tires. Don't let nobody tell you all seasons. You may get around all winter in them. I had a Camaro back in the day, and luckily I was more in southern Colorado, more down by Pueblo, and I drove to Colorado Springs, so the weather wasn't as bad, and I took straight highway, and I only had to get off on one street to get to my job. I'd recommend getting some winters if you have a rear-wheel drive car, and you'll thank me later, and you'll be able to actually drive and feel safe. If you're not willing to do that, you need at least a front-wheel drive car, which will do fine on all seasons in most places. If you do decide to move further out of Denver area, that Aurora, Westminster, Thornton, Littleton, all that, get some winter tires. You'll be much better off, and you'll really feel a lot better when you get on the road. I don't care how well you drive. It just makes you feel better knowing that you're not going to lose the tail end or the front end of your car, sliding around the corner. But if you move out of those smaller areas, you have a better chance of potentially being able to rent a house, a single person or a couple renting a house, maybe being somewhere there's more land. It's going to be cheaper. The trade-off is you're going to drive further into town. Is it safer? Yay and nay. It's safer because there's not as many people there, of course. The smaller towns do suffer from same issues that a lot of small towns in America suffer from, drug addiction, opioid epidemic, meth. But people leave you alone. And that's the truth of the matter in smaller towns. They do leave you alone usually. Will there be some people out there that have some weird thoughts on the government and thoughts about, all that stuff? Yes. That's called people that never get out. They come into town to get food or whatever. They're no different here than anywhere else. You don't have to deal with them. I don't pay them no attention. I go places. I don't want to be around I ain't going to waste my time with someone that ain't never been nowhere. Because your opinions don't mean nothing because you haven't been nowhere. That's just the truth of the matter. But the outer areas, like I said, you'll get a lot more freedom in regards to just people leaving you alone, being able to relax. The urban, if you're single for a while, you're going to love it. You may love it for the rest of your life, hopping on your bike and flying around the corner to a cool little ice cream shop or a little bar that has poetry night, type of stuff like that, or just the nightlife. Dating scene here is good. I mean, I'm not single anymore, but in my heyday I was, and it's good and it's still good. So don't worry about that. The main thing coming out here though is just making sure you have a job, and then once you get a job, if you're not in demand, or you're in one of those if you're in you have a skill set that is more likely to be laid off. You'll know better than I will. You have to look honestly at yourself. If you're in something that you have always the potential to be laid off, just have you a backup. Have you something that you go do for once a week or whatever until you feel comfortable and you figure out Denver enough to realize, oh, okay, I can do this, or this is going to work for me, or I got here and you look at your check and you see it's going all to rent or whatever. Like, oh, maybe I need another job. I did the same thing. In the beginning, my skill set was not recession proof. But I went out and got jobs, and it just became a habit of mine. I always had a backup where I'd work, once, twice a month at this other job. And if anything happened to my other job, it was the type of jobs that I could easily just go pick up full-time hours until, I picked up something else to replace it, not to replace it, but that I really wanted to do that was more related to what my skill set was, I perceived it to be. Can you survive out here? Yes. If you came from, like I said before, if you came from Indiana and you were a factory worker, or you're a young factory worker, but you're tired of living in this little small town, sounds familiar to me, yes, is you got a good work ethic, you can survive. Will you be successful out here? That's a lot of times up to people and what type of decisions they make in the beginning. Diversity. Denver, of course, is a very diverse city. That Denver metro area is very diverse. Food's pretty decent out here. Outdoor life is great, but the further you drive away from Denver area, going south or north or east or west, the less people there will be for you to enjoy nature. Labor Day, like the example, you go out on Labor Day. If you go to the popular spots, oh my gosh, you might as well just stayed in the city because it's going to be packed with people. You don't have to drive further away. 14ers, we have all these different mountains if you like to hike, rock climb, all that stuff. It's a good place. Winter, it snows, and it snows. But here's the thing about it. It's sunny too. Sometimes we get a lot of sun here, so it can be 50 degrees and sunny out. The roads are clear. It's not like the Midwest where the snow just sits on the road or dirty snow sitting off to the side. It will snow, and then all the snow will melt. That's the truth. Summers are brutally hot. Don't let nobody tell you they are not. It's been in the 90s. I think it was 97 degrees just a couple of days ago. But there's a chance of snow on Monday, right? Yeah, that will go away and it'll go back into the 90s and 80s. It gets really hot here and it gets really dry in the summertime. That is one of the best times to go to the mountains too, is in the summer when it gets really heating up in Denver itself. You go up to the mountains, it's a lot cooler, but beautiful too, type of thing. Anyway, I just want to give some of my suggestions about Denver. I've been here 20 years. It's a great city. I've just been here a long time. So I'm not as adventurous as I used to be because I've been a lot of places here. I still get out. A lot of times when I'm in Colorado, I take off to other places. I go to other states, find new adventures. Brand new person here. Hey, you got so much stuff to do here. Tons of adventures waiting for you. There's tons of them. Just do your research in regards to what you're coming here for and how you're going to be prepared to survive in Denver. I'm not trying to scare you. I did the move up here. I did it. Same thing when I got out of the military. I got jobs. I've always had a job. I was unemployed once here for 1 week, technically 3, but they hired me within the first week, my first interview, and I just had to wait to start training. Always been employed, and that's just honest truth about it. Just prepare yourself and be prepared on, okay, what am I going to do? If you can get a job before you get here, great. Recognize where you want to live, understand the neighborhoods. If you're not for sure, your first lease or do a month-to-month on an apartment or something to check it out, and if you find out, this ain't it, you can easily just move, type of thing. I've done it before myself. And then you just learn about Denver and listen to people you work with, listen to their suggestions, places to eat, places to go, check out this, check out that. People are fairly friendly. It's a big old cow town. That's what it is. It's a big old city with a lot of transplants, but it's still a little bit of a cow town, to be honest with you. I hope this helps people thinking about moving here. Would I recommend it to anybody? Yes. If you got a high skill set or you got a high demand job, I recommend it even more. But even if you're just starting out, as long as you got a good work ethic and you're not scared to work, come on down here, get you a job, fill it out, and then keep getting you better jobs. That's just how it is. I did the same thing. Anyway, I hope this helps someone out that's thinking about moving here. Downtown Denver, great for couples. Great for single people. If you got families, research it more because for the lifestyle you would try and live in downtown Denver, you could have a much better lifestyle out in the suburbs and safer for your kids and less of a commute. Trust me, unless you work downtown. I used to work downtown myself, and I lived out here, and the traffic down there is brutal. But anyway, hope everyone's having a good day. Thank you for watching.